starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Wild Out Podcast. My name is George Wow, live in Ontario. And I'm not here with the fellas, but I'm here with Mando, Nemesis. How are you, my brother?
Hello, everybody.
How are you, bro?
And then there was two.
And then
I'm
there was
good.
two,
I'm
bro.
good, George.
I know, bro.
I'm good.
It's just you and me, brother.
The show must go on.
Exactly, bro.
We don't stop here,
That's how it goes, bro.
right?
How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. Like I was talking earlier, Tanya. I know everybody complains about the heat, but I would rather have the cold because you can always layer up and unlayer. Whereas the heat, you either got to be by a pool, the beach, or just in a nice air
Dude,
conditioned
there's a lot of naked
room.
people doing craziness out there, bro.
Yeah, like shooting people on the freeway.
Yeah, bro.
Is that the heat or is that just your crazy?
I don't know, bro. There's a lot of craziness going on. There's a lot of naked people doing crazy stuff right now, bro. So I don't know what's
You
going
gotta
on
stay
this
cool,
world.
George.
Yeah, somehow,
stay
bro.
cool.
Right? I
Well,
mean,
I don't know if one of the freeways the coolest place, and having wielding a
dude,
gun is the best option there.
like I say, bro, I don't know what's going on with this. Whether we were talking, before the show about, reasons for these people, I don't know, cracking maybe, the stress, the
Yeah,
heat, I mean,
life in general.
life in general. I mean, and life can be cruel, bro, and tough, and it is,
Yeah,
right? I mean, life is tough, man. I mean, I know I've crashed and burned a few times through my life, but I managed to bounce back every time. Uh,
oh yeah, I've crashed and burned. I just crashed and burned last week, and now I'm back up on my feet, so I'm good.
let
It's a weekly thing for me in my life, just so you know, Jordan.
Right, bro. I mean, like I said, bro, I think everybody, it's crash and burn, right? I mean, you just got to,
Yeah,
get up and just keep going, right? I mean, because unfortunately, if you weren't born, rich
silver spoon.
or, yeah,
Yeah,
silver spoon and all that stuff, you got to work through life. You know what I mean? You got to earn everything you have. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I've seen people, I mean, I feel bad because people are cracking, man. I think there's a lot of stress, especially here in California, in LA area, with the high rent, high cost of food, high fuel costs, high everything, bro. I mean, everything's high.
yes.
You know what I mean? So,
Everything's just going up and up and up, and it
so I
seems like
don't.
we're not getting any breaks.
So I think maybe that's contributing to this craziness going on, bro. What's your thoughts about that, bro?
Well, I gotta tell you, when COVID hit, it was like, oh my God, the world's gonna end, right? We're not able to go out, we can't socialize. But when they started giving out those stimulus checks, people were happy. You can't go out, but you sure had a nice check to do some Amazon shopping or buy some really good beer. And I think those were times when, for me, I was one of the happiest because I was working 12-hour shifts,
Hmm.
and they would give us like 3 days off and then 4 days off the next week, and then we'd have 2 weeks off. Plus, we were getting stimulus checks and still getting paid, of course, from work. So those are some of the times when I didn't see a lot of people cracking, and you would think that the end of the world. I guess two ways to look at it. Fuck it, live life to the fullest because tomorrow may be the last, or oh my God, what are we gonna do? The world is gonna end, and have that thought in your head every day that you wake up. But it was one of the happiest times of my life, and the people I hung out with had a great time too. Everyone at work was happy. Everybody was like, nobody was really driving much, and if they were, I don't remember what the gas prices were, but they certainly weren't what they are now.
Right.
All of a sudden, COVID is not necessarily over, but it's gotten to the point where a lot of people think, yeah, COVID schmovid, it's just like the flu now. It's not that big deal. And now I think we're seeing a lot of the after effects of no more stimulus. Prices are going up again. People are going out and getting crowded, and getting cranky, road rage, things like that. So I don't condone the craziness that goes on, but I can see where someone could crack very easily under having a good time for a few years, then all of a sudden that's taken away from you. Now it's back to reality. So just, I mean, in my opinion, it's like, yeah, we're back to the grind. Every day, get up, gotta go to work, gotta pay the bills. So I could see where people may easily crack under those kind of that kind of thought process where, oh my God, did I make ends meet? And what if I don't? And if I got a family and a mortgage, it could be very stressful for even younger people. I was telling you, people I work with are in their 30s and 40s, and they're stressing right now.
Oh
So if
yeah,
they're
for sure,
stressing,
bro.
imagine how some of the older people are stressing. You know,
Yeah, like
retirement is not what it used to be either.
no, and I mean, like I said, with young kids these days, back in our days, I mean, I used to live in Alhambra when I was a kid. 19, whatever it was. $500 for an apartment. I was living on my own. Doing what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? With just a job, I was fine. Going out on the weekends, blah blah blah, all this other good stuff. But nowadays,
Right.
no way, bro. You know what I mean? You gotta
No.
you gotta be working to pay that rent. Period. And not to mention they young people these days they love to go places, do things. They're not. They're
Oh
very.
yeah,
They're very.
travel.
They're very active, bro. They're very social.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're at the bars. They're out here. They're at the coffee place. They're at the restaurants. They're all. So I mean, they live a different lifestyle than we did. I mean, you know what I mean? So and
Yeah.
now it's very expensive to do that. So
Oh yeah. One weekend can easily cost you more than a couple $100. I mean, I think, and of course, it's inflation. Of course, the cost of living goes up every year. But you and I were talking about how it's just the greed of people and corporate America. And I hate to say that because then I sound like those people that are just so into the politics. But if gas were to go down, we'd be able to do more things, and I think that would alleviate a lot of the crankiness of people. But it just keeps going up, and every time I go to the store, it seems like even if it's a few. I went to the 99-cent store. It used to be everything there was 99 cents,
right,
and now everything's like $2.99, $5.99, $7.99. I get it. You keep the 99 cents in it to call it 99-cent store, but there are no more deals. It seems like there's no more good deal. Not that you could get quality stuff at the 99-cent store, but chapstick,
I don't
floss,
know, bro. You
some,
can get some good stuff at the 99-cent store, bro.
I'm saying, yeah, I would shop there to get whatever I could instead of going to Target and spending, $2, $3 more. But nowadays, the 99-cent store is just like everywhere else. You go there and it's not necessarily, it's an illusion almost. 99 cents, but I bought one thing for 99 cents. I think it was a candy bar.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no tax because it's food. So that was the only good deal I got. Everything else is $1.99, $2.99, $5.99. It's just really tough for people, I guess, nowadays to get a good deal on anything. And if you get one, it's very short lived. There aren't any really good bargains out there that I've seen.
Right. And, speaking of that, now I think this is the last month of the protection for evictions, right?
I heard that,
For the COVID.
yes.
So starting on the first of next month, you have to pay all your back rent. Not like last month's back rent. It's like
Really?
yeah, because I think
Oh, that's
the
just,
protection was for like 18 months. So some people are 18 months behind on rent. So you got to put up those 18-month of rent all together. It's not they don't give you like a little plan for you to catch up.
no way. That
So
can't be true. Is that
no,
really
no,
what
that's
they're
true. Yeah,
telling
on the
people?
first
Shit.
yeah, if you don't come up with the 18 months or whatever, let's say you're 5 months behind,
Right.
you have to pay the 5 months at once. But if you took advantage of the protection, which was almost 18 months, you owe 18 months worth of rent. And if you don't have it, you're going to get evicted. So there's going to be a lot of people losing their places. I mean, who's going to come up with 20, 30 grand to catch up with
Right.
rent? So that's going
That's
down, and
insane.
yeah, so that's going to create more homelessness, more
More
people.
cranky people. More people on the
Right.
freeway naked
And like
shooting
I said,
people.
it's going to be people fighting eviction. People are going to be getting,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So it's just going to create more stress in the city, which is what we don't need. You know what I mean? Less stress. We need less
Yeah.
stress, not more stress, bro. So that protection is coming up on the 1st of August. So everybody
Which
that's
is next week.
right, which, I understand the landlords want their money too, right? I mean, they haven't been getting paid. They still got to pay for their buildings. I mean,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
they still owe a mortgage on those buildings, and if there's no rent coming in, they got to put that money out of their own pocket.
Right.
So, I mean, some people during COVID, because I've talked to a few people that didn't take advantage of that because they were still making money, so they kept paying the rent. They could have simply said, you know what, because of the COVID, we're not going to pay, and you can't kick us out and all that good stuff. But some people just chose to keep paying like they normally did, and so
Right.
those people
Very
are
few, I'm sure.
right. And the people that I don't know if they took advantage of it, now are too so far behind that they can't catch up. So now, unfortunately, they're going to lose their apartments,
That
condos, or
sucks.
houses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me in the business I'm in, animals always play a big part. And when people start getting evicted and they have to take their animals out, a lot of shelters aren't set up for animals unless they're service animals. So we may see an increase in people turning their animals in because they have nowhere to go with the animal, and it's really sad when you hear that kind of a story. And it happens a lot. I mean, before we heard about people getting evicted and they couldn't take their animals with them to the new place they're going to, and now with this in effect, I'm curious to see, and I'll report back to you guys, even if I'm not on the show, how it's affecting animals, because they're part of people's families, and a lot of people uh, are not gonna turn them in, but some people have no choice because they need to move on with their families, their kids, and etc. And they're going to start turning animals in, and I hope that's not the case, because there are organizations that can help, but I don't know how much they can help and how spread out they're going to be, and how much they're going to be able to put up for these people to help them out. It's just a sad thing that they're going to have to come up with that money, and uh, hopefully they can. It's tough.
Yeah, you know what? And like I said, man, that's one of the toughest things to do when you're moving if you have pets, is to find another
Yeah,
place that will allow you to come in with your pets, right? And so, in the moving from place to place, the pets part is almost as hard it is to find a place. You know what I mean? Because most
yeah,
places won't
yep.
take you with a pet. You know what I mean? So if you came from
And
a
if they do, they charge a really crazy deposit
right,
per pet. So I mean, some people will pay it, but it's just ridiculous. That I get it. You want to rent up your house or your place to someone who's going to be responsible, and you may have to rent it out again because these people are going to move out and they want it in good condition. But you know, when you start charging that much for per pet, it just really kind of makes people not want to rent there. And I get it; they're going to get the clientele they want, but you can also have. I have a place next door to me. It's been sitting for 3 months already, and no one's rented it out yet. So I don't know what's going on there, but it just makes you think, well, that's money, that's income that the property owner is not going to get,
right.
and to get it back is going to charge double, quadruple the price that's going right now, because people will pay at some, but then you can't get, you may not get consistency, or someone staying there long enough to say, okay, there's a good tenant that's going to be here for years. Maybe there's going to be for a year or less because they can't afford it.
Right. Maybe we should explain to the people why there's only two of us here today. Uh,
Because
uh,
yeah, why are
oh
we?
yeah, yeah. Jammin James is in New Orleans.
Oh, lucky.
Jammin James in New Orleans. Leo is taking care of some stuff right now. He'll be back next Thursday. And Jesse is taking care of some other stuff too. So it's just us tonight. We're here. The show must go on. So Mando's it's here with me. Thank you, Mando,
We're
for doing
taking
this.
requests today, people. So
Yeah,
get
exactly.
online and
You got some
start telling us what
Hey,
you want to hear talked about.
you got the tunes ready to go, bro? Because we might have to be taking requests, bro.
Yeah, I got the Bad Bunny ready to
Oh
go here, and I
God.
got the Stevie B on this one.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we're ready.
You know what,
You
dude?
know, on a funny.
Go ahead, bro.
Oh, so a few shows ago, I was talking shit about Stevie B and how I don't like Stevie B, and
Right.
we created records with Stevie B type music.
All right.
George T's wife's birthday, we celebrated at the Simple Bar.
Right.
I think 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday, and the theme was all '80s. So everyone loves the '80s, and I have most of my records are from the actually all my records are from the '80s. So I thought I could play a typical new wave set, but I already did that on the show for her birthday the Sunday before. So I thought, I could do it on vinyl, but I just don't want to repeat it. So I said, I'm going to look and see what I got. And
Mm-hmm.
lo and behold, the set I chose,
Go ahead.
the BPMs matched for a Stevie B song.
So you did.
And I played it, and they
What'd you
fucking
play?
loved
Spring
it.
Love.
Part of Your Body. Part of Your
Of
Body.
course, part of your body. Yeah, there you go.
Part of Your Body. Bum, bum, bum. And I said, this is what I get for talking shit, because I found that record. I have two of them, believe it or not. I don't know why I have two Stevie B. I have two records that had two records of Spring Love. And
Right.
so I played it, and Edgar and his crew loved it. So I was like, I will never talk shit about another
Why
song
don't
or
you like
artist.
Stevie B, bro?
I just didn't like that whole era of music. It just wasn't what I grew up listening to, and I liked mixing.
Mm-hmm.
It was too, you know, bouncing around the beat and very hip. And I love hip hop, but it wasn't hip hop. So to me, it was just kind of something
So,
that
so you
I
are you
just
not
didn't
a
like it.
so are you not a freestyle fan?
Oh no, I'm a big freestyle fan. It's just that Stevie B was one of those artists that um, I just didn't like to play the song. And I really don't. I couldn't tell you exactly why I didn't like it. It's just that music just
Was it
didn't
a
appeal to me.
was it a Bad Bunny effect where he was just so popular that you're like, God, I don't want to play Stevie B.
Maybe it was like, oh God, everyone hears Stevie B. It's like, and if you think about it, those are some of the not easiest, but the most um, creative mixes you can create because the beat, it's almost very seamless with a lot of the
Oh
music
yeah,
that came out in that era.
right.
So as a DJ, you want to
Oh,
find those kind of
freestyle is
tracks.
so much fun to mix, bro.
Yeah,
I
yeah, it
mean,
is, and that's why I
they
was
got
like,
awesome
Stevie
intros,
B.
excellent breaks. I mean,
And they're not just and they're not very melodic.
right.
Dun 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 dun. They go bump bump bump
And
bump bump bump, and they
yeah,
jump around, but it sounds good.
yeah, and like I said, they got
So yeah,
excellent breaks, bro. The breaks is awesome, bro. And like I said, since
so they loved it.
yeah, the intros are good, the mix are good. So I think it was probably a Bad Bunny effect with you, bro. That he was so
Probably.
popular that you say, no, I don't. You know what I mean? It's like me
I'm not playing,
me
but
and
yeah,
like
Stevie
me and
B.
Pitbull, right? I can't play any Pitbull or Bad Bunny.
Uh-huh.
Even though it's it's party music, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but I just can't do it, bro. So maybe you had
I
that
think
same
yeah,
type of effect, dude.
I think that's what it probably was from back in the day, and of course nowadays where I have a lot of digital music, I have more music than I've ever had. So, and because I do my show every Saturday, it's not like I can be too snobbish and say I'm only going to play this kind of music always, because I find that that's really limiting yourself as a DJ. Like I've never been one of those I'm a blank fill in the blank DJ. I'm a DJ, so I'll play whatever I can mix. And I was telling somebody I was telling Nanette Dione,
Uh
I
huh.
saw her at the wine. She went to one of these wine things I did with Nina Lars last week. I said, give me some list of songs of Spanish rock and reggaeton that you are really really love, and I'm going to try to mix them all together because I want to expand my horizons when it
Right.
comes to mixing. Because right now
Mm-hmm.
I've just been doing new wave, the high energy stuff, the disco. I've dabbled in the house, so I thought I need to start doing something a little different because it's actually really fun to mix those songs.
Dude,
I may not like them, but they're fun.
you were getting me anxious when you were doing house music. I was like, like you need to do
I don't
something.
mix it a lot. I don't
Yeah,
play it a
you're
lot.
like, dude, you need to play with house music, dude. Just get in there and just mix it up. Get in there, get your hands on the mixer, start doing some stuff, bro. 'Cause, house,
Turning knobs.
yeah, house music. You've seen house DJs, do a lot of twisting, right? But you need to.
Yeah.
That's the way the system, the music is set up for you to do it. So I was like, when I
I,
was next to
yeah.
you and you were doing house and you were just simply just up
Just mixing.
fading, up
Just
fading,
mixing. Yeah.
down fading. I'm like,
Mm.
no, dude, have some fun with this, bro. Get in there.
You jumped in there and got the fader. Go watch. I go, yeah, I know it does. I know. I just, the thing, George. Like I was talking to George T this past week, and I told him, the thing with me is that I concentrate on the mix so much that I don't want to fuck it up. So if I start touching anything but the up fader,
Hmm.
I start thinking, oh shit, wait, where was I? And controllers and mixers nowadays are not like back in the day. Back in the day, they had a fader and crossfader, and then one equalizer for the whole system. And most of you out there know that these new controllers and mixers have per channel, they have a bunch of effects and an equalizer, so you can do a lot with it. And I've seen DJs do it, but and even I just don't have the not that I don't have to learn it.
Hmm.
It's just it throws my concentration off,
Ah, okay.
and it's just I got to focus on that mix being as perfect as I can be.
Yeah, because
And
I
you put a
noticed
few
when you
drinks in me.
got on the CDJs on the studio, you don't loop. I go, why aren't you looping, bro? Just
No,
put the 16 bar, put the bars on loop, and just don't worry about it. Just sit there and enjoy the song, and then wait for the break, and boom, there you are. You're ready to go.
no, I'm very. I tell this to everybody. I'm probably the most boring DJ you'll ever watch, but I try to be one of the most exciting you
There you
listen
are,
to.
no, dude, you're a great
And
DJ, bro.
looping is thank you. And looping is one of those things where when I first found out that there was a loop effect when I first got back into DJing, I thought this changes the world for me. I can loop anything, and you can, but you got to also be careful. I've heard some guys loop sometimes and they catch it the wrong beats or section of beats, and it just sounds terrible. And then of course I never was a fan of the letting the mix float forever because I feel that on a mixtape it's great, but when you actually have people dancing, I watched people dance back in the day
Mm-hmm.
when you would mix really along, and they would sometimes they would really get people off the dance floor because the song wasn't on fast enough,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you've lost some of your crowd because the song is great coming in, but they haven't heard it yet because you're taking that long mix to blend it in. And I remember hearing the Power Tools DJs
Mm-hmm.
back in the 90s, and I thought, man, they're mixing fast. Like they're just like they're not really letting it mix more than eight, maybe 8 bars.
Right.
But I got it because when I went to those clubs, I would see the crowd. The song would come on, then the next one would come on like almost immediately right after. They weren't cutting; they were still mixing.
Right.
And I said, see, this is what keeps the energy going.
Right.
And so in my head, I have that. But I'll do a long mix if it's a mixtape because you're driving, you're doing your chores, you're whatever you're doing.
Well,
You
yeah.
don't want to have that
Yeah.
bang, bang, bang,
Right.
bang.
Electronic music is all about keeping the energy, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it goes with that stuff. So
But let me tell you, George, when I learned how to loop,
oh yeah, bro.
badass.
It's on,
Really
bro.
badass.
It's on after that, bro.
And thanks for the little tips, but yeah,
Nah, dude, I was
dabbled with
like,
at home with my stuff.
do this, do this. I'm like, Jesus.
He's just mixing. Come on, do something.
Have some fun,
Yeah,
bro.
and like I said, the next guy after me, Intentions, the young kid,
Mhm.
he was having a great time. He did a
Oh
great
yeah,
job.
I love
He was
that.
doing-
Hey, you know
he
what?
was-
I grabbed his number. I'm gonna see if I can get him down to
Oh,
the
good.
studio.
Right?
Yeah. So
Good
I was
kid.
like, well, he's pretty good. Me and Rudy B were like, dude, the kid's pretty good. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
he's pretty good.
yeah. So I got his number. So I'm gonna try to get him down to the studio because if you
Okay.
look at him, you wouldn't think he's a house guy. You know what I mean? He had that
Yeah.
that look, right? So, but he was real cool, real chill. He came over after my set. He said, "Hey, great set." So that's always good when you hear that, right? You always when you're a DJ,
Oh,
you just
yeah.
want to hear, "Hey, do great set, cool." You know, that's the best. That's the best thing you can
Right.
tell a DJ, right? So, but he was pretty
Yeah,
good,
I
brother.
got a kick out of him.
No, he was pretty good, bro.
I got his number too.
Yeah, he's a great guy. You know what?
Yeah.
Since we don't have Jammin James, let me do some shout outs to Cindy Garcia, Arthur Lopez, Ray's here. Who else? We got Mike. Marcelo is in the house. So, hi, guys. Welcome to the Wild Out Podcast. Today, we're just me and Mando hanging around tonight.
An army of two.
Yeah. Oh, Kitty Moonshine's in the house. So, hi, Kitty. How are
Hey,
you?
Kitty.
Make sure you follow us on all our social media. This is Jammin James territory, bro. Oh, Hector Velocity. What's up, Hector? How you doing, my brother? So we got some people joining us. Let me ask you this, bro. What was speaking of that, CVB wasn't one of your favorite. Is there another one that you couldn't play, bro? That you were like, I can't do it, bro. Oh
No, it was just like I said, it was just that era of music, and that's one of probably the best eras or genres in that era of the 80s.
Mhm.
And I kid you not, George, I gave away 2 crates of it to my this girl right here, my ex-girlfriend, her
Right.
mom, because she was a big a fan of that stuff. And back then you can give away records to people, and well, I guess nowadays too they have turntables, but she was so excited when I gave her those 2 crates, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to play that again ever. I was stuck on playing only the high energy disco and the new wave. That's what I was stuck on playing back in the late 80s. And as I said, when it came to the 90s and 91, early 90s, I went to the techno in the house, which house was in its infant stages, if you want to call it, here in LA. So techno was the first thing that I was introduced to, and I fell in love with that because it was high energy, fast pace, and just the sounds were just amazing. And when you hear it from a 40 to 60 speaker sound system in a warehouse or a outdoor event, it was just awesome. And I didn't smoke pot or do drugs back in the rave days, so it was just really a good
Right,
entertainment value.
Yeah, I got out of the going out scene and all that stuff in the early '90s. So rave was just coming out, but yeah, it was a heavily drug scene, right? A lot of acid, ecstasy.
A lot of ecstasy.
Yeah,
Ecstasy,
so there
yeah.
was a lot of that stuff going on. And like you, I wasn't into any of that stuff. So, but I did make a few raves back in the days, and then I got out of the going out scene. Well, met somebody, kids, blah blah blah.
Settle down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just can't be a kid forever. So, but yeah, dude, that was I did a little bit of the raves, which was I was happy I got to do that because that was great, bro. I mean, going out to
Oh yeah,
the
early
middle of the
on, that was great.
deserts, big sound systems. I mean,
Yep.
people everywhere. So that was a lot of fun. So but that was my last of going out in the '90s. So you know what, dude?
And see, for me going out,
Go ahead. Go
Uh-huh.
ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I don't want to change the subject, but go ahead and finish your thought, bro. 'Cause I was gonna ask you something else.
Oh yeah, no. Just so the thing is, back when I started going to the raves, I realized how the people. It wasn't like the party scenes from the house parties and the casa and all those
Right.
things, Florentine Gardens even. It was a very different scene where everyone was cool and mellow,
Right.
and maybe because they were on drugs, but nobody was. There was never any fights that I went to. Nobody ever mad dogged you, and the girls were very friendly. Would actually dance with you. They weren't stuck up, snobby. I'm too good for you, and that's what I enjoyed most about that scene also because you could actually go to a party dressed like this and you wouldn't
Right.
you wouldn't be judged and nobody would be like, oh, that guy's a
Exactly. You
imposter,
know
I'm not
what?
gonna
I
dance
was
with
gonna
him.
say that, bro. You know what I mean? It was the kind of scene where it's like, it was more about the music than it was about anything else, right? The music
Right.
was what was uniting everybody,
You said it, hit
and
the nail on the head right there,
right,
uniting
and the
everybody. Yeah.
disco scene was more of a how you look, clothes you wore,
How you
who
danced.
who you hung out with, who were
Yeah.
you, what crew were you with. So there was
Right.
a lot of pressures being in the disco scene in the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah, exactly true.
Yeah, so but yeah, the race scene was really more music driven.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? More
And
music driven.
everybody who went to it went to go hear music and dance to that music versus a fashion show or my crew's better than your crew, like you said.
Yeah,
So that's what I loved about that whole '90s, early '90s scene. It was just a good time and great music.
yeah. Plus,
Great music
the
was
only
coming out.
place you were gonna hear that music was at that show. At that place.
Exactly.
It wasn't being played anywhere but there. You know what I mean? So you had to make the drive there to hear that sound. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Good times. I miss the '90s.
yeah, bro.
I love the '80s, but I miss the '90s.
I'm very impressed by your K Rock knowledge, bro. I mean, I'm a K
Oh,
Rock junkie.
uh huh.
Uh, from the I mean, I know a lot of early K Rock music. So, and then I sometimes I hear your sets and I go, man, this guy knows his K Rock stuff. So you were a heavy K Rock listener. Did you consume a lot of K Rock in
Oh
the
yeah,
early '80s?
yeah. Because remember, there was no commercial dance radio stations. Um, I think Mars and Groove came out in the '90s. So in the '80s, there was no Q102 would play sometimes some hit music here and there, but they mainly did their show after hours, like K Day did. So the only music that was to me accessible and was good dance music was K Rock stuff. And
Hmm.
of course, the Seven Seas was a very popular club in Hollywood, which I think it was before Florentine Gardens, and we used to go there sometimes and hear like the Depeche Mode songs and the Tin Tin Duffy songs,
Right.
and the New Order, which and of course we didn't know who they were because they weren't even
Yeah, Black
for us they
Mosh.
weren't popular.
Black Mosh was good.
Blamage, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You would not hear that, and you would only hear it at that club or on K Rock.
gang.
And it wasn't like you would hear it on K Rock after hours. You'd hear it during the daytime.
Right.
So once that 12-inch came out and you already heard it, it was like, oh shit, no one's playing this. Everybody's playing, Babe, we're gonna love tonight, spin it. So let's buy some of this stuff that we're hearing because I'm sure people are gonna love it. And sure enough, once Danny Poison and his Wild Style came out,
Right.
he was heavy into that music. So he was a big influence on that, but he didn't really mix a lot of it.
No, he's cut.
So, right, cut,
Yeah.
and you could get away with cutting on some things. And in my opinion, there's still a kind of a skill and an art form into cutting because you still want to keep the rhythm going so that the people can keep on dancing. But
Gotta drop it on the one, bro.
right, and it has, it can sound really good or it can sound really shitty.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a tricky way of playing music because you gotta be on
Right,
it on the beat. But then again, it's also very important is the track that you're going into, right? The way Wild Style. I mean, the way I knew Wild Style was it had to be like banger after banger, 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 meaning by a song that you knew immediately, right? Like immediately, as soon as you
exactly.
cut, you that energy kicked in immediately, right? Because it was
It had to be the song had to be already not into the vocal necessarily, but into the
no,
the
even if
beginning
it
of
was
the
a radio
boom
version, but it had to be something that people would react to it like immediately. You know what
right
I mean?
away.
That they didn't care that they were already they were listening to a song and you moved on to a new song and they already forgot about the last song. They're already in that song the minute you cut.
Right,
So you
right,
have to get a specific tracks together that you be able to cut and not lose the energy or the crowd, right? Because you don't want to cut into a
right,
track that nobody knows, because then you lose them. So it was
right.
the way I used to play Wild Style was it was like I would go from AC/DC to Queen to
Okay,
to Donna Summers. So to a Bee Gees or whatever, but it would be just bang, 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 bang. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's the way I knew Wild Style. I don't know what your version of Wild Style was.
Well, for me, it was just when I saw Danny Poison, and it was just the music, him and Tony, Tony Morales, Tony Morales from Electra.
Hmm.
He would play some of the stuff, but he was more of a high energy, more of a disco DJ. But Danny was the one that was playing more of the wild style or the new wave stuff. And like you said earlier about the K Rock, he was playing some of the more obscure stuff that you wouldn't hear on K Rock or would hear it late with Rodney on the Rock, and it was it was just really a good combination. So when I started buying records, I would buy more of the K Rock stuff because it wasn't being sold a lot or bought a lot.
Hmm.
So it was easier to get those records versus the top, disco songs that everybody's buying and playing. And because back in the day, kind of like now, a DJ before you would play all the banging hits, and you're left with, okay,
Right.
I got it. Now I'm up prime time, and what am I going to play? So you couldn't play the same songs again.
So wait a minute. So the
Different.
opener guy was burning tracks
Oh
already?
yeah, it happened a lot. Yeah,
Oh,
these
what?
guys would show up, with 5 or 10 records,
Right.
and they were all the
Oh my
hits.
goodness.
So even if you gave them only 15 minutes, they managed to squeeze in all those songs in 15 minutes. And people would screaming and dancing, and then now it's like, okay, now it's my turn. It's like, well, I was gonna play those songs maybe in a longer version of them, but now you're stuck with I can't play that. But I don't. I complained about it back then, but now I look at it and say it was a good thing because it made me go outside the norm and say, well, now I'm going to play something that they might like, and it's good. It's K Rock music, new wave, and it's danceable, it's mixable. So let's play that, and that kind of would make you stand out because now you're not playing the same song the guy before you're after using it play. You're playing something different, and it was still good stuff. And this is when Depeche Mode, Bronski Beat, all those bands were
Yeah.
just kind of coming out with their 1 or 2 hits.
You know what? I was playing new wave in the '80s, and it wasn't a sure win in the disco
Oh,
scene.
right.
It wasn't as it is now. Right now, it's more mainstream. But back then, if you try to play, I don't know, a Depeche Mode song, like say DQ's
Yeah,
Downtown, it might not go well for you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because they're not used to that.
Right.
They want to hear their disco, and it's
Right.
like
So it was
that's not
it
what
was
we're
tricky
listening
to
to.
break into that scene with new wave.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, because of that, because they weren't used to it or they didn't want to hear it. It was too slow tempo. It was different. It wasn't,
right.
you know what I mean? So it was tricky to break in that type of music into the LA East LA disco scene back in those days.
And going back to what we were talking about earlier about Bad Bunny and reggaeton and stuff like that. This is what I feel right now is like as DJs when I go to these clubs, they're playing all the '80s stuff, which is great. They're playing all the new wave stuff, which is great. And then they may play 1 or 2 hit songs that the kids like, but it's kind of I think some of these clubs, even the parties I promote and play at, I think sometimes we get stuck into that. We're only going to play this music, and that's what they love. And it's kind of nice to break it up every once in a while. But just like the new wave back in the day, it's hit and miss. Not everybody likes reggaeton.
Mhm.
Not everybody's gonna like Bad Bunny. So if you play that, some people will really just be like walking out the dance floor, and maybe walk out of the club because they're like, oh fuck, they're gonna play this stuff all night. Forget it. And it's still a risk on what we as DJs play here and there. But I like to play different stuff anyway, and that's why I'm grateful to George and you guys at All Groove House because you allow me to play anything I want.
Right.
I mean, I've done a rockabilly set, I've done a punk rock set. I'm getting ready to do a rock set, but not with edits, just rock music.
Right.
And that's where the fun and creativity comes, and the skill because you're breaking out of the norm of the everything you've mixed before the same way. Now you're breaking into different genres that back in the day
Let me,
we
yeah,
probably wouldn't have done.
yeah, I know we're getting all geeked out with DJ and stuff.
DJ stuff, yeah.
Right. Let me ask you this, bro. What's your thoughts about re-edits, bro? I'm an extremist, right? I'm a knucklehead that way.
Uh-huh.
I only play the original versions, right? The OG mixes from the track that I have. They're always the original mixes. I don't get the re-edits. That have been now cleaned up, made more DJ friendly.
Made easier to mix.
Right. Exactly. Right. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's your thoughts about that, man? I mean, I play the original cuts. I don't get a new re-edit version or you know what I mean, or quantized version or whatever. You know what I mean? I just play the OG,
Right.
even if it has sometimes when these guys were making these 12 inches, they weren't really cutting them super tight, right? Some of them start
Right.
drifting, but that was just because that's how they were making the extended version. They were using tape, right? They were creating it wasn't digital, it was analog, so they had to create the breaks in the intros, right, by using tape. So sometimes they weren't perfect, right? So that was the art of trying
I have a lot of them that are perfect.
Yeah, so that was the art of trying to mix them because they weren't bang, 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 right? They were a little bit off. But now there's a lot of been redone, reworked, re-edit, and made more friendly. What's your thoughts about using those, or are you okay with them? I'm not into them. I mean, I've seen guys use them, and I can tell the difference from the original cuts to the.
Yeah.
Because I'm always like, I know here comes that screw up that was in the record already. You know what I mean? I already know it's coming, so I know how to get ready for either slow it down, speed it up, because I know it's coming.
Right.
But what's your thoughts about
Adjust,
that?
yeah.
What's your thoughts about that?
So I've had this conversation with other DJs before, since we're geeking out about DJ stuff, and I apologize to the public, but I think they'll understand it the way I explain it. Is that back in the day, a record would come out, and I was talking to John Torres about this. It would come out on a 45 usually.
Right.
Now the 45 is a short version with either very short or no intro or outro to mix.
Right.
It's just a 45. They played it on the radio, and they do it so they can play on the radio, and then the next song they're gonna play a long song, and then of course the 12 inch would come out. Now, what I hate is that the 45, once the 12 inch came out, we tossed it. It was junk to us.
Right.
I regret that because now I wish I had all those. But now the 12 inch comes out and it's got a longer intro and a longer place for you to mix out of. And then they would come out with a remix sometimes,
right,
which was even more creative or gave you more options and stuff like that. So the way I look at edits now is just like that. It's a remix or a remake of a song that was needed something more to it so it can be mixed or played longer. The only problem I have with some of the edits is I've seen guys loop edits. And I'm like, there's no need to loop an edit when the guy, whoever made it or girl, has already extended that intro or outro by like 16 to 32 to even 128 beats. So just mix it like, there's no need to loop it, in my opinion, because it's already got all the
That's what I'm saying. They're kind of like designed, for DJs.
Yeah. So I have a few edits I find in my collection because I've gotten music from different people. And sometimes I'll mix the original one because I like the way it starts, more original in my opinion. It sounds better. And then I may mix it into the edit because it gives me a really good out that I would never have had before. And instead of doing the kind of vocal over vocal radio mix I call it, it's still on beat, but it's not exactly what I like to hear.
Right.
The edit will let me do something a little more creative. But I only use very few of them because I don't like the way they sound. And when a DJ uses all edits, I mean, props to them. They sound on beat perfect. Right. But sometimes I think we can lose some of the creativity and the excitement of it because they're looping it or they're using it. And it's like, I think the person who created the edit maybe made it so that you could just kind of seamlessly mix the next one in at the same time it's ending. It starts like you're saying that bang, bang, bang. People don't even know the song's over and already the new one's on. They're still dancing and jamming to it because the DJ mixes so flawless at the right time. And I think sometimes the edits allow you to mix it kind of long edit, mixing it and then stretching the mix out. And that gives people a chance to say, you know what, I want to go off the dance floor and do whatever, go get a drink, go to the bathroom, leave. And I think that's where edits can kind of hurt some of the DJs. But I'll use one or two of them. In my mixes, I include maybe one or two, and I only know it because I'll look at the description and say, oh, it was an edit by so-and-so. And there's a popular person who does a lot of these edits and does a great job. But I don't like using all of them. I'm like you. I like the pure original version, even though it may be, not the best intro or out.
Right.
It skips a lot of beats, but it sounds just, in my opinion, better than just a kind of a dull edit that's kind of just like really made for you to mix, and it's easy to mix. So I'll use edits very seldom.
Sometimes I hear a track that I go, well, I know the track, but then I go, man, it doesn't sound the same, right? It's the same track, but it doesn't have that energy or that original feel that when I first heard it back in the 80s, I can tell, okay, that's not the original one. You know what I mean? Even if it's just a few bars off of the break or something like that, it's just not the same to me. So I try to stick to the original versions.
I'm with you on that too.
Yeah. Somebody mentioning Rockaway Records in Silver Lake. Rockaway was
still there.
Yeah, no, it was a great place. I used to go there, hang out there a lot, listening to music, finding music. There was another place in West LA on Pico I think it was called the Record Surplus. That place was
Uh-huh.
amazing, bro. Because it had an upstairs, the 99 cent upstairs. Oh, no, I think it's even
Shit.
25 cent records up there. I mean, I
Oh
used to
my
spend
gosh.
hours up there, bro.
Just searching.
What
Yeah.
what was your favorite hangouts at record shops? Not besides
So
the disco ones, but like these kind of like Rockaway was kind of like a dive, right? Like
yeah,
jazz. There's soul.
there
There's
was
yeah,
everything
you know what I
there.
mean? Yeah.
Everything was there.
So
Um, for us, we were very because we were just starting the DJ scene, and the DJ scene was very. I think the early '80s to late '80s was very still heavy. Of course, vinyl, and it was still very heavy disco, dance music, high energy, whatever you want to call it. So we rarely went to Music Plus. Rockaway was just on a whim. We'd go by there, but it would take so long to search that we already knew if we went to Ron's or then it became DMC or Prime Cuts. We knew that if we went there, you had to be nice to the guys selling the records because most of them, didn't like, questions asked, or you couldn't go up there and hum a song to them and they know what it was.
right,
So we stuck to those record stores because we had to get the most current stuff that everyone was playing, or they were going to play, but they haven't played it yet. And if you saw someone like Tony Morales or like Black Tie or Steve Beltran, Risque in there,
mhm,
you kind of hovered around them to see what they picked up.
right,
Now, most of the stuff they picked up, they either knew was good or they knew they were taking a chance, but we would buy it all too, and then half of it was shit. But that's the risk you take, and you don't want to go up to them and say, "Hey, Steve, can you tell me what songs you're buying? Get away, kid! You're the competition." So I only went to those record stores, and until later, when I started buying more K Rock stuff, I started going to the Music Plus, the Sam Goody, the Rockaway Records, because then I knew, I know that I'm going to find a Depeche Mode or a Pet Shop Boys song here cheaper because a lot of people are not buying that stuff. The mainstream, it's mainly DJs, and they don't know about this hidden gem in silver they call it Rockaway Records.
right. So yeah,
So yeah,
I was a little new wave, little mod kid back in the days too. So yeah, somebody's mentioning Poobahs in Pasadena.
Puba's, yeah, that
Uh,
was a good one. I never went there,
yeah,
but
I think it was Moby Disc on Colorado. There used to be another good place
shit.
in Downey on Lakewood and Florence in that shopping center. In Downey, there used to be another good record store right there too. So that's where we used to go get all our mod music and ska music and all
Wow,
that stuff,
really?
bro. So you had
Now
to
you remember Ritmo Latino? That was a record store that was very under the radar, but the Southgate guys turned me on to that.
really,
And Ritmo Latino was a chain, almost like I don't want to say it was like a Music Plus. It wasn't that big, but you can go there and get some really good um, disco hits because they carried a section of it that was very again it was a hidden gem where the guys from Southgate were getting this stuff. And we used to believe it or not hang out with the Southgate crew a lot back in the day. The prophecy, the expose guys, the Tyrone from TNT, those guys, because they were into the more of the kind of freestyle hip hop stuff that we were trying to get into. And
right?
then they did the disco too. So they didn't really. I don't remember them playing new wave. That was more of the LA scene and the 818 people.
Yeah,
But definitely they were playing the hip hop
right.
stuff. I think before anybody
Yeah,
or the freestyle stuff.
that's what I always try to explain to my kids that music was East LA had a sound, South Central had their sound, the South Bay
Yeah,
had their sound. The Valley kind of like mimicked the LA sound. We're both doing disco in both valleys. So yeah, that's it. The music was very sectional, right? If you crossed downtown and you went
yeah,
into South Central, it was more
different.
different,
Yeah,
way different, bro.
but wasn't that cool though back in the day because you could go to if you traveled and had a car because remember back then we were what
Right,
17,
exactly.
18,
I
we were
didn't
barely
cross.
getting cars.
I never crossed downtown in the '80s. That was, I mean, I went as far as DQ's downtown on Spring, and that was
Right.
Alexandria, but that was as far as I went, And then we turn around and go back to the east side. But yeah, bro, that's the way I tell my kids music was like that. And it was new wave was out
Yeah.
in the suburbs, you know, like where I grew up in Royal Heights. It was all K Rock, all that stuff. So I didn't get into disco until I moved into El Sereno, and that's when I got into all the disco stuff. So that was the way music used to be back in those days. They would just travel in mixtapes, right? They would go from city from
Yeah,
section to section through mixtapes, right?
and that was what was very unique about the DJ scene back then is that yes, there was a lot of DJs, but there were a lot of DJs playing a lot of different genres. So you can get a guy from Southgate to come up and play your party, and he was going to play stuff that you don't normally play or don't play.
Right.
And it was like, well, that was for the production value of your party. Florentine Gardens was a place that I love and hated. I've said that before, but when we used to hire the guys from Southgate or the guys from Uncle John's Army, or the local talent, it was always a different night. It was never the same music, and that encouraged myself and Renee the Wizard to play different music too, because we felt we could play the same stuff, be known for those kind of DJs only, or we can start to venture out and start playing what they're playing, because people, if they dug it, it'd be nice if you could be a more versatile DJ and play more than just one genre. So that's what was, I think, really cool about back in the day, because it was just so many different genres being played from, like you said, different cities or areas in the
Right.
city, that you could say, here's going to be Tyrone from TNT, who he could probably play disco or a new wave, but he's playing this really cool, different music we're calling freestyle for the sake of labeling it.
Right.
And he's doing a great job. And even when they started doing what Uncle Jam's Army was doing, was cutting it and remixing records on the fly, it was entertaining to listen to and watch, as long as they kept it under control and weren't just scratching all night. So that's what I remember from back in the day, and I try to bring that to the parties I have. Different DJs from different areas, because even though we may all play the same music now, it's the way they play it and the energy that they bring that I think is kind of, for me, it's entertaining, because I go to parties sheerly to be entertained and listen to other DJs and the music they play, not to pass out flyers or promote what I'm doing, or try to sell myself into that scene. I go, don't even tell people I'm a DJ, just to go and be entertained. And I tell people that. And sometimes they'll recognize me, like, hey, did you bring a USB drive? I go, why would I bring a USB drive to a party I'm not playing at and I'm not invited to? It's ridiculous. I don't travel with music. I just go to listen to some other DJs, because there's a lot of good talent out there, and listen to different music sometimes, because there's still some unheard of gems that I hear. I'm like, that was a great mix of whatever they played, because I haven't heard that before.
You know,
So it's just
yeah, I keep like finding tracks that I don't know why I don't have them. Right. Even though after,
right.
even after listening, having listening to so much music and so many sets of other DJs and stuff, but I always here and there I'll run into a track where like, why don't I have this? Because I know the track, I heard it. I go, why is this track not in my hard drive? Or
Oh
you
yeah,
know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
so it's good to find, to go listen to other people play, because they'll play a track that you like. Whoa, why don't I have that track? You know what I mean? Because you forgot about it. You haven't heard it in years.
Right.
It's in the back of your mind, and here it comes. Here it is, and you're like, why don't I have this track? You know what I mean? So I find myself finding music all the time, bro. Just because I'm listening to other people play. You know what I mean? On YouTube, I'm listening to DJs do sets, so I'm always listening to people play, and I always run into these tracks. I go, why the heck don't I have this song? And it'd be like automatic one of my, and it'll be in my head for the rest of the day just singing it, because I know the track.
Oh yeah.
I just lost track of it. It just went away, and here it comes. It came back into my life, 25 years later, dude. So music is amazing that way, bro.
Oh, I listen to our radio show on Saturdays, and I get up early and I start listening to it from 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock whenever I get up, just to listen to the different DJs that we have on the show that we know
Right.
play what they're going to play, because it's always a surprise, and I love that we don't announce what we're going to play ahead of time, because it's just kind of a surprise, and I like to hear the different songs. And like I said, Fernando Unique goes on, I think, at 12,
Right.
right? And he always has a different set, and I always pay attention, because there's some songs, like you said, he plays that I've either remember hearing back in the day or I don't have.
Right.
And I'll
Exactly.
be like, oh man. So I've even texted him during the show and said, hey, Fernando, it's Mando. What was that song that you played after the song that I already know? And he'll tell me it. And then I can get it, or else I may have it, but I have it hidden in my hard drive of all the music I've got. And then I'll go even as far as finding it on vinyl if I can. And lately I've been bugging Wayne Lyons about
Oh God.
vinyl. He's going to get hooked me up with a few songs that I was like, he played at the party.
Right.
And again, like you said, I haven't heard them, and they just sound, when somebody mixes them correctly and they sound on a loud sound system, you're like, man, I remember that song. I want to play that song now,
Right.
and it motivates you and
Dude,
inspires you.
dude, it's a great feeling, bro, to find an old track that you love. It's
Yeah,
because
and then be able to mix it either the
right
way
immediately,
you did
right?
before or not.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, immediately. Just get it and
yeah.
start messing with it. So yeah, it's a great feeling when I find music like way. We got Edgar C in the house. What's up, Edgar? How you doing, my brother?
Edgar,
In the house.
what's up, Edgar?
Yeah, Arthur, I'm gonna check him out, dude. I'll check out that DJ's recommending me. So I'll take a listen, bro. I'm always listening to DJs play. I love.
Yeah, and me too. I go to, like I said, I go to different parties. Um, I don't go to just one type of party because I don't listen to only one type of music and I don't play only one type of music. It's funny you posted that picture of me playing house music and everybody's like, "You play house music?" I go, "It's just music. It's
Right.
not to me. It's not like, oh my god, I can't play house music." As I've told people before, the only reason I play most of the '80s stuff is because remember I haven't DJed in over 30 some years. So to me, all the stuff I used to mix with the technology nowadays, you can mix more of it and be more creative. So I'm still in the 80s trying to figure out the stuff I couldn't mix before. Now I can, and I'll dabble into some newer stuff, but it all depends on what mood I'm in and I want to hear. Usually I'll find a song that I hear it, and then I want to try to build a mixtape around it. So that's why my creative process, if you want to call it that, goes. But it's just great to be listening to. That night we heard a bunch of different DJs that I've never heard before. I probably would have never heard if they wouldn't have been at that club where we played at on Friday night. Intentions. I had never heard Frank G. I heard Frank Ken Handles before. I'd been on
Right.
his show, and the Mad Hatter. He actually invited me to be on his show next week, and I was like, "Well, that's pretty cool." Where you meet somebody, and they like the way you played, so they invite you to come on the show and be a guest mixer. And that's always a to me that's like the biggest
Oh
compliment
yeah.
because they're not doing it because you took a crowd or you're popular or you got so many followers just because they heard you play and say, hey, I'd like you to mix on my show. um, like with All Groove House, I was very honored when I got that call over a year ago
Right.
to do a show, and I was like, not just a set, a show.
Right.
And I thought these guys actually trust me to do a show. That's going to be a to me. It's a big commitment because to do a mixtape, as I said before, it takes a lot of practice, and I can't just wing it and produce a tape every week.
Yeah.
It
Whoever
has to
whoever
be
that guy was that
calculated.
brought you in was man. That guy must have been
That guy
really
is
good,
like a
bro.
talent scout.
There
He
you go,
must be
bro. He
very
must
good
be an
himself.
amazing talent guy. He's looking for talent, bro. That guy is amazing, though.
I still remember the call when you called me.
Right.
You actually called me. We didn't text or message, which I love. I'm like Paulie. Paulie Wizard says, I fucking hate that texting bullshit. I go, I'd rather just pick up the phone and call you. And you actually called me. And when you said, hey, we'd like you to do a show, I was like, oh, fuck, this is an honor. But I was so terrified because, everybody knows me. Back in the day, I made very few mixtapes because I just hated making mixtapes because back in the day, if you fucked up, you had to start the tape all over again. And you could still fuck up somewhere in that mixtape, but it was like, fuck it, it's already done. Nowadays, you can practice it, and to record nowadays is very simple, and there's no such thing as tapes, even though I still call them mixtapes. But that was a very scary, very exciting day when I got that
Let
call
me
from
ask you this, bro, because this was a problem I had. I used to be able to, I would be playing whatever, practicing, doing whatever. But as soon as I hit that record button on that stupid tape, everything
Changes
would just go
everything.
to hell, bro. I mean, the
Yeah.
stress level would
Oh,
just
yeah.
go sky high, bro. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't know why that is, George. And we should ask other DJs if that happens to them. Now, you're gonna get some guys that are
Yeah,
gonna
I
say,
know, I know.
"Oh,
Oh,
no
yeah,
problem, no
no big
pressure."
deal,
Okay,
whatever.
fine,
Right.
that's great. But yes, the minute I'll be mixing and practicing, I go, "Oh, this mix sounds exactly how I want it to be produced," and then I'll go and hit the record button, and that mix will take me 4 or 5 takes before I
Yeah, I
nail it
know,
because I'm
bro. I
like,
used
"God
to be
damn it,
terrible with that,
stop
bro.
recording, stop recording, stop recording." I don't know what it is. It's a mental thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like because listen, when we play live, there's no picking up the needle, so to speak, and
No.
going back and starting over. When you're playing live, you're live, and people are actually dancing, which is I think they're the best and the worst critics because I've played and had people give me a thumbs up as they're dancing, and I've also played when people look at me like, what, what was that? I'm like, hey, I, I'm doing the best I can. There are no 100% perfect sound systems, even your own when you take it. There's always something that kind of glitches or goes, you forget to cue this one and whatever the case may be. But going live is tougher than anything.
No,
Once
but I
you hit
mean
that record
that
button,
stupid record button and seeing the little lights move on the
yeah.
little lights start moving on the deck. or the needles, the old needles used to go
Oh
side
yeah.
to side, and you like, dude, I sort of got to do, as soon as I hit that record button, everything would just go to hell. Yeah, it was,
I think it's the mental pressure of knowing that that's permanent forever,
yeah, forever, right?
forever.
Yeah, so it was a
Yeah.
permanent record of your talent, right? So it was like,
Right. Right.
it had to be perfect, right? Even though nobody is perfect, right? I mean,
And that's so true. It's just, and then of course, because you're on the radio show, and George T is very good about telling us the numbers
mhm,
of how many people are listening around the world. You're like, oh fuck. So this is not only going to be you're listening to my music, my mix, or a few friends at a party, which they'll probably be drunk and couldn't tell anyway. But now it's the whole world is listening, and I still think that people, even though we always say, oh, the crowd doesn't care, you can fucking not mix. And I've heard that people not mixing at all or terrible mixes, and people are, as long as you're playing the good music, people are still dancing. That's
right.
that's somewhat true, but there is a you or me out in the crowd potentially saying, I think I want to hire that person or get them on the show, and it's always like an audition, in my opinion, because you never know who's out there.
But
And back in the day, I had the same mentality where it's like, you know what, I have to be on point because there might be a promoter out there that's gonna take me to the promised land, pay me lots of money, but I have to be on point. So, um, again, going back to the taping, it's just that it's permanent, and it's out there for everyone to listen to and critique.
yeah, it had to be perfect. Like I said, dude, it would just go to hell, bro. I mean, it was bad, bro.
Fucking record, but maybe I should just change the color
And
of it or something.
it was in the first mix, bro. I mean, oh right.
Oh yeah,
The first song was easy, right? You just throw it in. Here comes the intro, but here
yep.
comes the break into that first mix, and
Uh-huh.
it went to hell, bro.
So then you start over because you can
All
do that
over again,
nowadays.
bro.
Not
Then you
wasting
get
tape.
then you get past the second mix, and then you screw up the third mix, so you start all over again. So
Then you're frustrated. So by the end of the first half,
and
you
then
just like,
you're
"But I'll
almost
do
done with the
tomorrow."
mix, and you screw up the last one, bro. And it's like, oh damn,
Uh,
yeah, dude.
it's just a DJ perfection thing, and I like I said, I know there's a lot of guys out there. Girls are gonna say, "Oh, they just hit record and it's no problem," and that's
Oh,
great. That's skill or talent, but you know, at some point, I think it's a lot. It's not that easy to be a DJ. Even with the technology that's out there, it's still you have to still know volume control. You still have to know breaks. You still have to know intros and outros,
right.
BPMs. Um, um, some songs may be perfectly matched
Yeah,
BPM wise,
keys or the
but
key signature of the song.
exactly, they
So
don't sound right mixed. And I've done a few of those mixes myself. I'm guilty of that because I just want to get that song in there so I can do the next mix that I think is going to be a good mix. So you'll hear some of my mixes where the song's like, oh, the beat match, but it just doesn't sound right. It
right.
didn't flow. But like you said, we're not perfect, and if you're doing
No, no,
a
no,
tape
no.
every week, you're allowed to have a couple. I allow myself one or two that I can say, okay, it wasn't the best one, but I'm gonna let it go because at least it was on beat. And the next mix, in my opinion, was
I've been, I've,
a really good
yeah, I've been
mix.
known to pick up the needle on the record on the wrong one. Have you done that before? And the one that's playing?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's when you're doing vinyl. Now,
Right.
the worst thing is controllers or CDJs.
Oh no, I
Especially
do that all the
nowadays
time,
where,
bro.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've had it
yeah,
easy.
yeah, I done that. But back in the days, you would pick up the needle on the record that was
Yeah.
actually playing, not the one you're. So yeah, that was.
It's just like I said. I've seen a lot of DJs that, in my opinion, did a great job. They're almost perfect, and they're just in the zone. Then I see DJs like us that just kind of once in a while screw up, but then you look at that and you don't say, "Ah, that guy sucks." You just think that's part of
If
that
you're
happens.
right, if you're a DJ, you've been there, you've done that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So maybe it's somebody else that's not a DJ or just somebody that's watching you play would think that's a huge screw up. But it's stuff that happens when you're playing music, man. It's just music.
Well, there's also newer DJs, and I hate to bash the new generation, but there's newer DJs that are only mixing on one format and one thing, and it's to them it's like, oh, it's easy. I picked it up and I could do it. Yes, you can literally go buy a controller right now and a laptop, and boom, you're in business. It's not that hard to match BPMs, and it's not that hard to match the tempo. But the true art of it came from back in the days when you had no screen to look at, no beat. I didn't know what BPMs were until late in the game, and even then, a few of my records have it written on it because you just kind of winged it.
Were you
And did
doing?
that mean
Were you
you were
doing?
great?
Were you counting beats and doing the math like I used to do?
Yeah, yeah. We because you had to sit there and 1, 2,
To
3, 4 with a stopwatch,
right.
and then oh fuck, I lost tracks. Start over, or else fuck it. I know this song's gonna mix with this one. But recently, when I did the thing for George's wife at the Simple Bar, I literally for 2 weeks took two sets, one new wave and one disco and one high energy, and I went and put the BPMs on there and organized it in BPM order, and that really helped me, which I wish I would have done that back in the day. But Simple Bar was easy for me because I was like the second DJ playing. I knew nobody was going to play what I was going to play. I wasn't jeopardizing the other DJs by playing my set because I knew they were going to play it, and I felt very comfortable seeing the BPMs. Now, just because the BPM says what it is doesn't mean that you're going to get a perfect mix. You still got to write that pitch and just listen to it. And with no screen to look at, it wasn't we weren't doing Serato vinyl; it was just pure vinyl. It was actually very refreshing to be able to just concentrate on listening to the music versus looking at screens or monitors and stuff like that. But it's still just a skill. And like I said, all you new kids out there, don't talk shit when you hear another DJ fuck up, because trust me, you will do that too at some point. And then it's like, it happens.
Yep.
You push the wrong button, pick up the wrong needle. A pretty girl comes up to you, a guy offers you a drink, someone's trying to tip you money to play Bad Bunny. You lose track, and it's just, I know it's only two things, but when they're both spinning, it's very hard sometimes to be like, wait, which one was it? Which one's flashing, which one's not, and then I even look at.
I have to look at. I have to look at the mixer once in a while to see which fader is up. Okay, this one is
right.
It's
over here. So that's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But now, if you're one of those mixers that mixes side to side, and both your faders are up,
right?
You got to remember this one's playing, that one's playing, so you can get lost very easily. But it's just part of what we do. I mean, it's not, if anybody can say they're perfect, I say they're full of shit, because nobody's perfect. And I've heard a lot of DJs in my time and recently. But it still just kind of shows that you're human and you're still having a good time, because it will happen. And the crowd's pretty forgiving. They'll boo.
Well, some guys, some DJs don't like. I'm the type of DJ that likes to take chances, so I'll do a mix that I it might go bad, but I'm gonna go for it anyways. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of those cats.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I'm feeling a song, then I'm gonna play it. But I'm not one of those practice set kind of DJs myself. That's me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I just play on the fly. Probably shouldn't. Maybe it's not a good idea. But that's what I do. What's your view on that, brother?
Well, the thing is, they say practice makes perfect, and everything you do, no matter what it is, whether it's something like sports or something like acting or even DJing. For me, I knew nothing except to practice, because early on, my first partner told me straight out I was not good at mixing, and I was not going to be DJing the disco part of the music. I was going to be cutting the new wave.
Right.
And I was crushed, because when I got into DJing was to play disco music. It was that beat, that sound that I saw people react to, is why I wanted to play it. So the only way I could prove that I could play the disco music was to lock myself in my parents' bedroom, because I was only 16, with one belt drive turntable, one pitch control. Literally put the first record on that one and try to match it with the one that had pitch,
right,
and practice. So for me, practice came as I have to practice. I don't have the God-given talent of a DJ to be like, I can mix anything in my sleep. Mm-hmm. So I had to practice. And so as I kept getting more and more into DJing, I found that the guys that didn't practice. Now remember, back in the day with vinyl, if you sucked, it was really hard for you to get a gig, because people did not they weren't that forgiving like now, in my opinion.
Right.
You can get away with some bad mixes right now. I've even heard DJs play one song after another with no concept of mixing, but the crowd was like screaming and jumping and having a great time, and that's really what matters, the crowd. So for me, and I've said this before, a DJ that can wing it, I think, is talented if they're doing it correctly.
No, but I mean winging like now, right? Because winging right now means I have access to thousands of tracks, right?
Oh,
but I mean, back then, I would go with my little set that I practiced all week, and then I would do my 30 minutes or whatever that I had to play, but it would be a practice set. I mean, and it was on point because I had to be. You know what I mean? You're playing a loud sound system. You're playing at a club, or, with people dancing. So it was a practice set, and right. You would show up with your set. But I'm saying now, having so much access to so much music on the instant. So that's when I take chances. But back then I didn't take no chances, bro. Everything was practice set. You know
Right.
what I mean? Your vinyls were, marked. You knew where you were gonna come out, all that good stuff, bro. So it was that kind of environment back then. It had to be, if you wanted to stay playing, it had to be on point. You know,
Right. And nowadays, like I said, you can wing it now, especially with technology. And there's been times when I'll probably wing a few mixes because because I know the song.
right?
I know that song. I know where the break is, so I don't need to practice it per se because you can't always go with a practice set nowadays to a club and play it and be like, I'm going to stick to it only because that's what I'm playing. Because if the crowd isn't dancing to it, you need to change it up, and that's where the practice sets of multiple different genres come into play, and that's where the knowing the music comes into play. Now, if I don't know the song, I've never played it, I'm really risking it because all of a sudden, even with today's music being produced mainly by DJs and being not, giving you the right beats in the beginning and the end, you can still come into a part where there's a vocal, and all of a sudden it changes beat to the when the beat starts, and now you're all over the place. So I try to stick to songs that only I know, and if I don't know them, those are the ones I will practice and at least try to remember or mark it, cue them up so that I know that here's the break that I want to use, not the one that I think is going to be good because that was not good enough for me to mix. But you have to wing it at times too. So just because I say I practice, in general I think I practice mixing in general.
Right.
So I'll just pick some songs and practice them, and oh, that's a good mix. I'm going to write that one down because I'm going to use that in a mixtape. But if it comes down to the actual party, you cannot rely on your set and that's it. You're stuck on it. Now, if you're playing all the bangers, even then, I've seen people play what I consider all the hits of that era
Right.
or that genre. It's never guaranteed because somebody doesn't like Taps by Forbidden Lover or Spin It, and you can clear a dance floor with those songs, and it depends on what the crowd is into at that time.
I don't know if you can
So it's
clear it.
still a
I don't
challenge.
think you can clear a dance floor with spinning.
Let's test it out. The thing is, I guess the other thing is, maybe not clear a dance floor, but you may not get them on the dance floor because if you're playing too early and you're playing all these bangers,
Yeah. I'm saying
people aren't ready to
I'm
move yet.
saying these days, bro, you can't clear no damn dance floor with spinning, bro. That thing's gonna get packed, bro.
Okay, so we can keep
Let,
spinning.
let
Maybe we let
Yeah, we
tonight
can
as,
test
as
it
the
out,
all
bro. Next
time.
time we're playing together, we'll test it out, bro. We'll put it up.
Yes, yeah,
We'll put it in. You'll see, bro. Instant reaction, brother.
you're probably right. You're probably right. And like I said, it's the songs like So the thing that I try to do also is I don't try to play all the hits in one set because then
It's kind of like Diamond Girl, dude. That's just a built-in banger, bro.
yeah, I think I was joking with you when I was playing. I forgot where, and I said, "Look, I'm gonna finally play a banger because my set didn't have a lot of. I was building up to the bangers because I like to. I still think of the guy next after me,
Right.
and I don't want to be that DJ plays all the hits, and now you're next, and you're like, "Geez, Mondo, way to go! You played all the '80s dance hits, and now I'm gonna have to play Stevie B." I just kidding. But I think it's still very much like I said before, DJing is still it's a skill,
Right.
and just because you can match beats in today's with today's technology doesn't mean you're that good. Can you sustain a crowd? And I'm not talking about for 30 minutes or an hour. Can you sustain a crowd if the other guy says, "Hey, I'm not going to play," or whatever the case may be? The promoter says you're going to go on for another hour. And like I said, you had your set you wanted to do,
Right.
and maybe they're dancing, but now what are you going to do now for the next hour?
Right.
And that's where knowing the music, knowing how to mix, volume control, I think is key.
Right.
Even though some DJs will mix side to side and it's kind of done for you, all that comes into play as a DJ. You need to know all that. And I'm not trying to give what do you call it, a workshop on DJing right now, but it's just DJs will know, the older DJ generation DJs like yourself and the guys we hang out with know all this anyway. So I'm not preaching to them saying, "Oh, this is how you should do it."
Right.
The younger generation needs to realize that you can't just rely on technology because at some point you're going to show up to a party and they're going to say, "Guess what? Today we're doing Serato vinyl. We're not doing CDJs today,
Right.
or we're doing controller only." So you need to be prepared for any type of format that they're going to throw at you. And the worst thing as a DJ, I think, is to say, "Oh, I don't play on that."
Oh no, no.
It's like, wow, okay, so you're only a specific kind of DJ
Yeah.
that
Some
does only
some
a
guys
specific.
don't. Some guys don't want to be out of their comfort zone. You know what I mean? Sometimes they're set in their
True.
little whatever they're using to to play music. To me, it's just the tool, right? Whether CDJs, controllers, turntables, it's
Right.
basically all the same thing, regardless. You know what I mean? So you should be able, if you're a professional DJ, you should be able to play different formats. You know,
Yeah.
if you show up and there's turntables, then you should be able to go turntables. If you show up, there's CDJs. I mean,
CDJs.
you know, you got to be ready with your USB drive or whatever, or your Serato. You show up with your laptop, and then you're
Right.
you're good to go, bro. You know what I mean? Good to go.
And that's why I think it's still tough to be a DJ nowadays because you not every club or party is going to cater to you. And the worst thing I think is to walk in with your controller or your
Mm,
setup because then they have to break down the
yeah,
setup,
exactly, bro.
or and it never works out smoothly. I've been at parties where I've seen people bring their own controller and there's always a problem because either they don't have the right cables or you can't connect to the mixing board or something always happens. And I think you need to be prepared for that and say, okay, fuck it, I'm going to do. Um, I have a stick.
Right,
I'll do CDJs.
right,
Or you know what? Let me use your laptop. I don't have a laptop, but if I plug in my
right.
drive to your laptop, I can use your laptop. I'm reading the same thing. And
Yeah,
then, like you said, the DJing part of it is just a mixer. And I tell everybody that no matter how many buttons and fancy things this thing does, you have two up faders and a crossfader. And all you need to know, in my opinion, is where the cue is to hear what song you're going to cue up. And then everything has a pitch control nowadays. And the pitch control nowadays isn't like a 1200. It's very precise and it's on the money. So you can almost be 99.9% perfect on your mixing if if you're in the zone. Alcohol and pretty girls always play a part in mine, so I could easily screw up if I had too much to drink or a pretty girl comes and wants to hear Bad Bunny.
let me ask you this, Mondo. What was the biggest gig you played? I mean, you're a famous DJ, bro, from back in the day. What
Oh,
was the
George,
what was
so famous.
what was the biggest show you played? Do you remember?
The two biggest places we played was Florentine Gardens and Pico Rivera Sports Arena,
How many people were at the
and
sports arena, bro? At Rock of the '80s.
uh, there was at least 2,000, which is I
Really?
think the same capacity of Florentine Gardens. See, Pico Rivera, I don't think was bigger than Florentine. I could be wrong. It just looked more massive because it was
Right.
outdoors. So you look out, there's the arena, and then there's the stands. And the stands made it look even bigger. Now remember, back in the day, you had to try to fill the whole arena with sound. So that's where you get the stacks of speakers and the massive, amp racks. Whereas Florentine had a built-in system into the speakers were into the walls. I believe Kenny had L36s,
Hey,
no Bs, all L.
didn't the sports arena put plywood on the floors?
You know what? When we went there, I think they had carpet.
Oh, that's right. They had something over the dirt.
Yeah,
I remember that.
yeah. They did have it covered, but I think nowadays they put. I was at the Columbia Fest a few years ago, and I think they did plywood and the carpet, so it's a lot nicer venue. But remember, back then it was just a sports arena where they had horses and
Right. So that
shows.
was
So
the sports arena where you think was the biggest show you did, or
yeah,
Florentine was putting in 2,000 people a night?
yeah,
Really?
and George, the thing is, we got it when it was just starting. I think we were the first promoters to get that place,
Uh huh.
and it was like it was just like you were playing to a mass of people, and you would see the people come in big and huge, you know, hordes of people almost,
Right.
and then they were just immediately on the dance floor. It was one of the first clubs where you could start playing an opening set, and whoever you were doing good because they were all already out there.
Right.
And then the next DJ just builds on it and builds on it, and more people. By 10 o'clock, you had just the heads were just moving, and it was
Wow.
packed. I mean, it was just great. But Pico Rivera was different because you could actually step back and look at the whole crowd, kind of like Florentine we see overhead.
Right.
But you were on the stands, bleacher stands, so you could always look up and see the whole crowd. And it was just that was good, but that took a little while to get people to dance and stuff. Plus, back then we weren't the only DJs playing,
Right.
and I think I was talking to somebody earlier about a battle of the DJs back then. Battle meant sound system versus sound system and light show
Hmm.
and DJ and music. So it was actually if you didn't have a sound system, you weren't really considered a real DJ back then because that's what we grew up following: the Pegasus, the Electras, the Constant Forces, and they all had a full sound system. So you had to have a sound system to compete with these guys. You
So
could show up with your little records and be like, "I'm a DJ."
so every big time DJ back in the early '80s had to be backed by a sound system or
Yeah.
his own
If you
something.
look at some of the flyers,
Hmm.
everybody had a sound system of some sort. Now, mid 80s was when we started doing the club
Right.
scenes. So then it was like, well, I don't need a sound system. I got Florentine Gardens. So all I need is records. And that's where a lot of, I think that was where we saw the birth of a lot of non-system DJs. And then, of course, after that, the sound systems became kind of, I don't want to say obsolete because you still needed a music sound, but it was like, now if you're a DJ and you're good and you got a good crowd, you can play off of my sound system. So you don't need George Wilde doesn't need his own sound system. George Wilde can play at this venue because he's going to play off their sound system because George Wilde has a good crowd, plays different music. Again, so we want him to bring his crowd. So that's how we get away from you have to have a sound system.
So how long were you at
So I would say,
Florentine's? How long were you at Florentine
we
Gardens?
were only there for maybe 3 or 4 years.
That's a pretty good stretch, bro.
It is, but when you're a mobile DJ and you're craving to move around and take your sound system and it's sitting in a garage not being used, you kind of get, at least for me, you get that itch of, yeah, I'm not meant to be a club DJ. I'm a mobile DJ. Now, right now, everybody's saying, fuck that. I'd rather have a residency somewhere. But back then, I didn't want that. I wanted to be moving around. I wanted to show up my sound system and light show because for me, when I would go see Pegasus and Elektra, I thought that's what I want to do. I want to be able to have that kind of sound and light show, and then have my mixing ability be projected on something so everyone can hear it. And that's why I ended up leaving Florentine.
So
Plus,
who
the
who,
promoter was
who was
screwing
playing
us.
with you at Florentine's
The Wizard. He and I were basically
all night?
the main ones.
You guys play all night?
No, so we would have different DJs. Like I said, we contacted the Southgate guys. We would contact Uncle Jam's Army. Went there a few times.
Okay.
We had other DJs show up to play with us because it was just one of those things where you were never guaranteed to have a full house. So you had to get other DJs to bring their crowd. And who
Okay.
didn't want to play at Florentine? It was fucking awesome.
Right.
The best sound system at the time, the best light show. We didn't get percentage of the bar. I'm pretty sure there was relatively inexpensive.
But that was
like
was
20
that
bucks.
was that 18 and over?
It was 18 over, and that's where I think they made. I do recall it being 18 and over because that's where they made their money because you could be 18 and over and go in. You just couldn't buy booze,
Right.
and then of course if you're 21 and over, you go there and you buy booze. So they made a killing. I think the most Renee and I made on on a great night was like $500 each.
That's a lot of money, bro.
It was, but when you think about how many people were in that place and how the promoter probably walked over thousands, and we were the headliner DJs at the time, it's pretty much just we got pretty much.
Yeah, no,
We got
that was my next question was were they generous with you? But then
oh fuck no,
no.
George. We had promoters that would see the dollar signs and know that we were young dumb kids.
Mhm.
'Cause remember, this was I was like maybe I turned 18 or 19 when I was at Florentine, and Renee was the same age as me. So, you wave around some money to these kids who don't have jobs really.
Right.
The minimum wage was what, a couple bucks an hour back then,
Right.
maybe three, and you're barely getting your car and you're starting to go out. $500 is a lot, but then when you think about, and of course, now you don't have to buy anything but records. So, records, $500 worth of records is a lot of records back in those days. It is even now. But the promoters saw the naiveness in us and the excitement of wanting to DJ at this prestigious club that nobody was getting at the time.
Right.
So I think I know they took advantage of us, and because nobody has a manager back then, nobody thinks about working a deal saying what percentage are we going to get from the door. It was just, whoa, we made $500. This is awesome.
500
and that was
500 a
thing.
piece or 500 for both you guys?
Oh, 500 a piece.
Oh, wow. $1,000
But
bucks.
that's what $1,000 compared to the thousands they were making at the
Oh, I know
door.
that, but dude,
It's like,
dude,
we
that's
got
like, dude,
screwed.
for the 80s, that's a lot of money, bro.
Yeah, but it was, but like I said, that wasn't every night. We only did that on some nights when it was really, really packed.
So what
Um,
did you guys ever have artists come in?
You know what? We never had artists that well, maybe Renee is a better one to ask because I think he remembers more. But what we had is a lot of theme nights, like Michael Jackson Dance Alike contest, Madonna versus I don't know, Madonna night period.
Okay.
Michael Jackson versus Prince night. People come dressed as Prince, people dressed as Michael Jackson. It was where I think the theme parties really excelled because it was like at that time Michael Jackson was a big thing, and boy, some of these people that came dressed and danced like him were spot on. And the prize money was $100, so again, like you said, back then $100 is probably a lot to come and dance, and then if you win, you get a hundred
But
dollars.
that was a mixed crowd, right? You guys had some white kids there too, right?
Yes, so that's what we, we've always had a mixed crowd. We never had one type of ethnic people there.
Right.
It's always been a mixed crowd, and it was a mixed crowd. The problem is the DJ booth was so high up that you didn't get to interact with the crowd.
Okay.
Which at the time I was fine with it because I'm one of those DJs that didn't like to be, I was very in the corner in the shadows. I didn't care. I just wanted to play music.
Right.
But it was way up on top, so you weren't into where the crowd was. Pico Rivera, people would walk right up to the DJ booth and talk to you and shake your hand and stuff, and it was really kind of more of, and it would seem like we had more our type of people, if you want to call it, more Hispanic
Right.
background people, which was really a really good. Not that I don't care. I like all people,
Right.
but it was more of a huge backyard party, as opposed to a club in Hollywood, where yes, you have to get dressed up or you're not going to be let in. Pico Rivera was more relaxed, even though people still got dressed up. But it was more of our people, our backyard house party people that came to that, and it was just a lot of fun.
And how was ladies action?
George, I was one of those DJs that focused purely on my sound system, my lights, and mixing. So, as you know, once you have to break down, you didn't have time to go
Dude,
socialize.
you were headlining at Florentine Gardens, bro, and you weren't
Yeah.
doing nothing but just
DJ.
worrying about
I was just,
speakers and amplifiers and mixers, bro.
I just wanted to be really good so that nobody could say that I sucked.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
that's one of the things that was always in the back of my mind when I was
Dude,
DJing.
you were at
someone's gonna-
Florentine Gardens.
Yeah, my crew benefited because they
I'm
would.
sure
usually
they
say
did,
I
bro.
was the
I'm
DJ.
sure they did.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I know people don't believe when I tell the story, but I remember those days vividly because, like I said, we had people from K Rock come up there. We had other promoters come up there, and when the guy, I remember the guy Scott Mason from K Rock.
Hmm.
He passed away,
Right.
but he was the program director for K Rock. We had a K Rock night. We had Richard Blade, and he was announcing them, and I was playing before Richard Blade. And he came up, and he was kind of, I knew who he was. He was standing behind me when in the DJ booth, and when I was done, he said, "Hey, you're a really good mixer. That was a great job." I said, "Oh, thanks." I was like, "Wow, this guy works at a radio station." I didn't think he had a clue about mixing because
Right.
we don't mix on the radio
Right.
back then. And he complimented me, and I was like, that's why I focused on trying to be the best, because those compliments, in my opinion, are the best because there's someone who
Still,
is
bro.
not.
You were at Florentine
Yeah.
Gardens, bro.
Yeah, Florentine was fun,
Yeah.
but I hated
You
it
could
too.
have made more fun, bro.
I wanted to go back to Casa. I wanted to go back to Kennedy Hall. I wanted to go back to those places because then I could take my sound system out and show it off. And that was what.
Dude, how did you
what
get
I
your
really-
sound system inside the Kennedy Hall, bro?
Oh, George, we used to pack. So the most we had was 12 speakers,
Okay.
8 bass bottoms and 4 mids and highs. Now that is still a lot of firepower for a hall like Kennedy Hall, but we used to have battle of DJs in there with other sound systems. So imagine not one but 2 or 3 sound systems. The
Did you ever
walls
do
would
the
be lined with
Cleveland House?
speakers.
Did you do the Cleveland House?
Huh?
In East
Oh,
LA?
what?
Cleveland House in East LA? Did you ever do that?
No,
No?
we did Kennedy, we did Casa, we did Ukrainian,
Right.
all those places. We did the Copa,
And
and like I said, we took all these speakers in there because you had to. You couldn't show up with 2 speakers. Not like nowadays when guys show up with 2 speakers. It's like
you put
it was
that many
unheard of. You
speakers
showed
inside
up
the
with 2.
Copa?
We
Copa?
we put 8 bass bottoms.
Jesus.
We did like the 4 here and laid them all down, and then we put the 2 mids and highs. They were a little lower because that was a low.
Where the heck were the people supposed to be? It was just all speakers there then.
Oh, they were just packed, and so
Yeah.
that was the beauty of it because people would actually not complain about being packed like sardines in a club like that, or maybe they did, but we didn't care
Right.
because we had to pound the walls every time we showed up because that was what back then how they measured how good you were. Because if you play it on a shitty sound system, they can't hear how good you are, so you suck. And back then it was so competitive that you had to have at least 6 bass bottoms.
What time? Let me
at
ask you
least
this, bro. What
midnights.
time do you guys used to take off for the night?
Well, let's say the party over at 2 a.m. So I had a very good crew, a very dedicated crew of at least, 10 to 12 guys.
Uh-huh.
So the breakdown was relatively fast.
No, I mean, just
And
to
then we go.
let's say to set up. What time were you guys? let's say the club started at 7 p.m. or whatever. What time are you guys already hitting the road?
We would try to be at the place by at least noon
Jesus.
because to do a sound check and make sure that everything's working. Because remember, Radio Shack was around back
Right.
then, so you could always say, okay, go buy some wide jacks or some quarter-inch jacks or more speaker wire. Go to Radio Shack and here's $20, and that would get you a lot of what you needed. And there was something always missing or something always going wrong because you're dealing with um, equipment that was like now used, and the guy or girl or the people who had it before maybe didn't take good care of it and something went wrong or it's just sold. um, but we would leave early and set up and then go home and change and come back because remember this is all LA based.
Right.
And I live in Echo Park, so it was not like we had to travel. Pico Rivera was the furthest we traveled, and that I tell you was we would get there like in the morning. If they let us in by 10, we were in at 10 because remember there was 4 or 5 other sound systems. You want to get there before anyone else to set your shit up in the prime spot, and then make sure you plug into the right
Oh, hold
outlet.
on, hold on, hold on,
Because
hold on. Multiple sound systems in one show?
oh yeah, Pico had at least 3 or 4 sound systems.
Really?
Michael Flores has some really good photos from some of the Pico Rivera days,
Hmm.
and it wasn't just us; there was other guys there. And I remember,
And
two
they
or three
everybody would
other
show up
sound
with their
systems.
own individual sound system
Yeah,
and play on their
at
own
least
individual sound system.
now, yeah. But then, like I said, if you were a DJ that didn't have a sound system, you would then play
No,
off
no,
of
that's what
someone
I'm
else's
saying.
sound
But
system.
let's say three. So it'd be one event, and these three DJs will show up with their
Uh,
own personal sound
sounds
system,
and light show.
like this huge,
Yeah,
humongous wall of speakers. There'll be like three of
yeah,
them side by side by side.
yeah.
Wow.
I have some pictures, and it shows my sound system against some of the other guys. And some of the other guys would make one wall,
Hmm.
and then we would make 2 stacks because we always wanted to have
So
the full
you all
effect of
you guys used
stereo.
to race to get there before the other
The next
guys
guy,
to get the prime
yeah,
spot right in the
yeah.
middle.
You wanted the prime spot because you know what? That was where people walked in and they saw you first.
Oh,
And the purpose of that was that, again, it was so competitive that you want to make sure that everyone knew that Nemesis had the best sound and light show and hopefully the best DJ that night. And everyone else was just, they'll
that's
remember
pretty
their name.
impressive, bro. So you would show up as a casual dancing person, whatever, and there would
Uh-huh.
be three sound systems there for you to enjoy.
Yep.
And at the end of the night, you would
And
say, you know what, sound system was badass, or
hopefully, yeah.
which was your I don't your nemesis.
It would probably see now Electra and the Pegasus were no longer doing the parties we were doing at that time. So it was people like Travel
Okay.
or Eclipse
Hmm.
or Infinity. Infinity probably was, I would say, the one guy who they knew how to dial in their system and just pound those B36s like nobody's business.
Really?
Thunder. I was envious of Infinity because
So
that
you
guy.
think Infinity was the best sound system in LA at that
Uh,
time?
well, at the time, but then when I met Gilbert from Constant Force, he had a small system like mine,
Mhm.
and he used to pound it. And he was a solo guy. He was, from what I remember, he was a one-man show. He would take his own stuff, set up. He was a damn good DJ. The
Mhm.
problem was back in our day, they labeled you when you were older, they labeled you a 21 and over DJ, and then you only played the 21 and over crowd. So we went to some of those parties, even though because we had just turned 21, and we used to want to kind of DJ with those guys too because it was still remember it's still sound system and sound system. So you go to any party back in the 80s, you were guaranteed at least 2 sound systems in the venue, and I think that's really getting your money's worth because it was never and they never sounded shitty. It always sounded the sound guys did a great job of tuning them up. And remember, this is sound guys that weren't professionally trained. These are just kids EQing shit to say, does that sound
So
good?
who would EQ your system? Were you the EQer?
No, are you kidding? I had a guy who used to be able to tune my system up, and we had multiple
What was his
different
name?
systems because at the
What was
time,
his name?
Carlos
Carlos.
Carlos Altamirano, he was my main guy. Um, Unfortunately, he passed away one night when we were playing at Casa,
Oh my
and I
goodness.
was waiting for him and waiting for him. He got in a motorcycle accident. He didn't
Oh
show up, so I had to do it myself. And
wow.
I remember seeing him do it. I did not know how to do it, but I didn't know the full.
Was
He
he
was
on it?
very
Was he
del-
on his way to the show?
yeah, he was on the show.
Wow.
So we didn't know until the next day because I was like, this guy's out because he used to, ladies man, he'd always hook up and take off, and he set up my shit but then take off. So it was one of those nights where he he didn't show up. I was like, fuck, and, we're at Casa.
Right.
And again, we towards the end, we were the only sound system at Casa, but we used to have at least two sound systems there too.
Right.
And when I started, before I got into buying a sound system, I used to go watch Pegasus and Electra and Genesis. Genesis was another huge sound system, and they used to pack the Casa with 3 sound systems and 3 light shows. And it was just what made me fall in love with the DJ scene and made me want to have a sound system, because I thought this is how you have to be if you're going to be a good DJ. You have to have a loud sound system so they can hear how good you are, because it does no good if you're playing on some shitty little system, because you could be the greatest DJ, but no one can hear how good you are. So you have to have a sound system. And that's why I've always been adamant about sound. When we go play somewhere, I'm like, why do you guys only have one bass bottom? I know it's a QSC 18-inch, it can bump, but what about the quality of party you're going to throw? And then by the middle of the night, it sounds very staticky because you're pushing everything.
Right.
And DJs always have that habit. I do sometimes too. Turn it up, turn up, turn up, turn up, keep going up till you sounds loud. And back in our day, and I hate to keep saying back in our day, but the quality was what we always wanted to make sure was there, because you didn't get rehired if you sucked.
And that's was because remember the mixers used to get all taped up, right? So you couldn't crank them up, right? Remember that the masters were taped, everything was taped down. Like, don't touch this, don't touch that. Yeah. You know, because it was for real, bro. It was real, bro. Yeah. You were gonna mess their sound system up, bro. You know,
because everybody wants to go louder, and the thing is, you don't have to be loud to be heard, and you don't have to be loud to be good. You just have to be good. And so, it's a very simple recipe, and let the sound guy do his job, because when it's empty, it sounds different than when it's full.
Right. Yeah, the bodies. Yeah.
And you don't want to be blasting it at 8 o'clock when no one's there, and then all of a sudden by 10 o'clock people are getting there. Now everything's warmed up and heating up, and now you're really trying to cool things down. Now you sound like shit.
It's funny when you walk into a place and the dude is just banging, dude. There's nobody there, brother. Like, chill, relax, bro. Calm down, brother. Calm down. We just getting started here. Relax.
I get it. You want to hear it loud, but Willie, you and Willie did something that I thought was phenomenal when we used to do some parties with you guys pre-pandemic and during pandemic. Is you set up a bass bottom for the DJ. And I remember asking, I think you were saying, why do you guys have that bass bottom in front of the DJ who's facing the DJ? And Willie said, because that way you don't feel like to turn it up. The bass is already hitting you. And face it, bass is what makes, I think, a party, because if you don't have bass, I mean, who wants to go listen to a transistor radio all night?
Willie had one of those old B-52s. You know what I mean? That 18-inch B-52, man.
Bass bottom,
Dude, that bass bottom is for real, bro.
Oh,
God. I mean, that thing was beat to crap, but it was thump.
It sounded great.
Oh, my God. It was a great sounding sub. B-52. Remember, you used to have the bass bottom with the little built-in highs? But he had just the B-50, the bass bottom. But that thing used to rock, bro.
Bump.
And clean bass. You know what I mean? Remember how clean it was? It was so clean sounding bass. It wasn't. It wasn't.
That's like I said. I learned a lot.
Yeah, that was a great bass right there, bro. Well, I think
good sound. Yeah, I think good sound is important.
Yeah, I think we geeked out about DJing for the whole show.
Yeah, did we lose viewers?
Yeah, we lost everybody. It's just you and me talking about music, bro.
That's okay.
But yeah, you know what? I got into the disco scene late because like I said, I moved to El Sereno in the middle of the '80s, so I wasn't quite aware about this multiple sound systems, bro.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I'll dig up some pictures, because like I said, it was an actual, you had to be better than the next guy.
And you know what? Rest in peace to your sound man, bro. That's
he did a great job, and he's really missed after that. And then of course after that, it was almost the late '80s, and I stopped DJing, so sound system went who knows where. And I said, well, that's why I think right now I have that obsession with having a great sound system, because even if you hire me for one party, I want to make sure that I sound great, and you're like, well, that sounds good. Not like, he brought 2 speakers, and that's what everybody brings.
Where are you gonna be at with the sound system with Renee? Where are you guys doing? Cathedral?
We will be at Cathedral High School in the gym for their alumni, or it's some type of benefit they do every year.
I'm gonna go there and check out that sound system of yours, bro.
You should, and give me any tips, because Willie's gonna go. I was at Willie's house studio yesterday, tuning up the crossover and the EQ,
right,
making sure I'm doing it right. And of course, one of the wires was bad, which is why he said, throw this away, buy a new one. I go, yeah, I knew I had problems with that wire before, so I got new ones. But we're going to be there at Cathedral on August 5th.
Okay.
And I get there at 10 a.m. So you can get there early. We're going to do a sound
Is
check,
that on a Friday?
dial everything
Is
in.
that a Friday?
That's Saturday. Saturday.
Dude, I think it's a lot of stuff going on in August. First weekend of August. I think I'm playing August.
Is there?
No, we're playing in. We're playing the
on
26th. Ah, that's right.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun, man. Buckets are on me, brother. I got your buckets, man. We're gonna have a blast.
All right, that's gonna be a lot of
We're
fun.
in the patio, so
it's gonna be off the hook on the patio, bro. So you know what? We don't have the guys.
Awesome,
we don't have the guys doing the shout outs and all that stuff tonight, but we do need some inspirational words from you, brother, for the peoples, bro. So give me something, bro.
Oh, real easy since we're on this topic right now is all I encourage anybody, promoters and DJs, is to know your history. You know, you need to know where this whole DJ thing came from, because we were doing this from the day one, and we are kind of the path that people took to get to where they are now. We didn't create DJing, but we motivated, I think, to go to where it is now, to these big parties, these raves, and these, all that was LA based was just LA. We didn't know anything else back then. No social media.
Well, you
So
know
just
what?
know your history.
Yeah, I agree with that, bro.
important.
Because don't be like I say, I'm not ashamed to even, like I said, you mentioned this multiple sounds. I didn't know, but I'm glad that I
Yeah.
know now. I'm always curious to find out all this stuff, bro. I don't know everything, bro. And I don't claim to know everything. So this is news to me, and so I was like, don't be afraid to ask the guys that were there at the beginning, so you
Yeah.
can learn the history of DJing in Los Angeles. There's guys like you and a lot of guys like you that were there at the beginning. Even the guys that were there before you, Mando.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were there too. So it's always good to ask if you don't know, or just go talk to some of the people that were there in the beginning to get an idea, so that you get more, learn more about how this started and where it is now and where it began from, bro. So
I think you'd appreciate it more if you learn about the history. Not that controller came out, a few years ago, CDJs, and then boom, it's Serato's here and everybody's a DJ. I
right,
think knowing the history helps you become a better DJ and helps you understand why sometimes you'll get those people that are very adamant about we're only mixing vinyl or we're only mixing CDJs. It's like that's cool,
dude,
but also
that
you know
drives
your
me
history.
insane, bro. That drives me insane, bro.
That's why like I was telling George T, I show up with a drive, a laptop, Serato vinyl, and even real vinyl if I know we're gonna do vinyl, just because you never know. And I hate to be one of those guys like I don't play off this. I need my own controller. It's like no, you gotta learn how to do it on everything, because back then we only had 1200s.
Yeah, and like I said,
So yeah, I
there's
get it.
plenty of DJs that are willing to help you to learn
Yeah,
gear. That you just gotta ask, and people are out there.
you and Willie helped me tremendously, not just with the DJing portion of this
Mm.
business, but the live stream version.
Oh yeah,
This
I'm one
is
of the I'm one of the OG OBS guys, bro.
yes, and by you showing me that,
Right.
I was very confused when I went to your the sunset deck
For-
sessions and seeing
You,
GoPros.
you start seeing
I was like, how do they
GoPros and
do that?
laptops and cameras. You're
Yeah,
like, what the hell is going on over here?
you inspired me, and see that's why I
There
think
you go.
some of the things that as you're a DJ, but this is beyond the DJ realm of what we
Right,
do, but it's a future.
right,
So this is what I'm talking about when you know your history, because had you not shown me all this,
right.
I would still be in the dark ages of how do you stream? I'm gonna put my phone up and you're gonna see half of my face and then hear all the background noise. You guys taught me all that, and I appreciate that. And I look up to you guys for that, because you know your history.
Right.
If you don't know where these guys came from and what they're doing, you can learn so much and do so much more once you start asking and then embracing the technology and not being closed-minded. So I appreciate you and Willie for that, because I have GoPro set up here in the studio. We stream on OBS and then some, and it's just a really fun part of DJing that's part of DJing still. So thank you guys for that.
You're welcome, my brother. You're welcome. Well, thank you for those words, my brother. And
Thank you for having me again.
thank you for everyone for joining us today on this DJ Geek show. The guys will be back next week for a regular show. Mando, I gotta put you on the website, bro.
I'd love to be on there.
dude, I gotta figure out how can I put little 5 boxes on here. I don't know, bro. I mean, I'm gonna miss you. Uh,
It's okay. I'm a great substitute. I love coming in here and there because I think it just freshens up the show as far as here's a new guy, or even though I've been on the show several times, it's just kind of fun to be
Well,
on it randomly.
you are a permanent part of the show now, brother. You
Well,
know what I
thank you,
mean?
brother.
So
I
you're
appreciate
permanent.
it. I
You're
love
part
it.
of the Wild Hour podcast. So
Yeah, I made it.
you're one of us now, brother. What? But
Thank you guys so much.
once again, brother, thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for the people out there joining us. We'll be back next week for another episode of the Wild Hour podcast. A more normal one, I guess. More hot topics. More
current
hot
topics,
topics. Yeah, we didn't get into the naked lady on the freeway shooting at people. We didn't get into the naked guy in East Hollywood terrorizing people in some apartment building, walking around naked. We didn't get to the lady.
Next week.
Yeah, we didn't.
Next week.
We didn't get to the lady apologizing about the mobile homes in Silmar.
Oh, I saw that one. I thought we were going to talk about that,
Yeah,
but yeah, we
bro.
got too geeked out. Sorry about that.
We'll touch
I
up
wanna
on
hear
those.
about that.
We'll touch up on those stories next week, brother. So once again, people, guys, thank you guys for joining us. We'll catch you guys next week. Good night. We're out of here. Peace.
Peace.
Device connection terminated.